we are, podcast episode 2. People didn't think we would make it past 1, but you know, we proved you wrong. So I'm gonna give you my evil laugh at this point. Gwah, ha ha ha. And that was so corny. But that was my Kefka reference from Final Fantasy VI. So this is Hyper Vega, WinLossGaming. We've got a couple new faces with us. Not new, but they've been with us for a while. But they're joining us for the first time on our podcast. And of course, we got repeat offenders from last week. So you know, we'll go ahead and down the line introduce ourselves and get all of that boring stuff out of the way. So we've got
Dude, it's VD, Shadow Train, Suga-Tank,
and Viciously Vicious.
And there is a lot going on tonight. We've got our wine handy, and we've got our handy list of stories from over the last week, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it because there's a lot that we're going to cover tonight. So one of the things that I'm going to skip to, just first and foremost and immediately, is probably one of the most interesting and amazing things I've ever seen. The Valve Employee Handbook. And we're only going to talk about this for a split second. It made its way online. It's been all over, you know, websites. We went ahead and posted a link to it on our Facebook page as well because I think it's the most amazing thing ever. You know, these guys are probably the most casual, laid-back gaming company that I've ever seen. Massage rooms and laundry rooms mentioned. You know, just the fact that there's absolutely not one specific thing that they're working on at one time. There's multiple things that this company works on. And when you're brought into this company as a new employee, apparently, according to the handbook now, of course, I'm not talking firsthand because, you know, I don't work for Valve, but apparently, literally, you just walk in, find out what's going on, pick what you like the best, and you get to work. I mean, there's not one person to look at you and dictate exactly what you do. They don't look at you and say, hey, Suga-Tank, you're going to be working on this C title that's, you know, based off of this movie that's coming out, but we're going to go ahead and let Vicious work on this AAA title that we got going with all the heavy advertising. I mean, literally, it's just like you jump right into what you want to do and have fun doing it.
A great way out of the door of the Explorer video game, by the way.
Yeah, I agree. I love Swiper, can't stand Boots. So I just want to give a shout out to Valve for that. I think that if you guys have not checked out the Valve Employee Handbook, Google it, or as I like to say, because I like to sound fancy, Google it. And Google it.
Woggly.
And
better yet, Bing it.
Bing it.
Right.
Bing it. And check it out. It's like 37 pages, but it's completely worth it, I swear. The diagrams are just hilarious, and there's a lot in there that's going to give you a new insight on how businesses should be run. So, I guess after that, we'll just go ahead and move on to the real stuff. One of the things that I want to talk about really quickly is the thing that's intrigued me the most about the gaming news this week. The new Metal Gear Rising trailer. We went ahead and put it on our page, on the website. It's on our YouTube page. What the hell? What was Konami and Platinum Games thinking when they put this thing out?
For those of you that haven't seen it yet, we saw it like before we started this podcast. It was I don't know. I am taken a little back by it. I don't know what.
Well, you saw it before the podcast. We had it.
Oh yeah. Well, us as in WLG saw it before the podcast.
It's 31 seconds of human experimentation, man. It's like an ad for like Dynacore or Black Mesa. They're, you know.
It reminds me of a Taliban YouTube video of them taking a POW and making demands and then just executing him. I mean, they literally just. You know, I'm not going to say they went too far because, I mean, I like it when companies push the envelope and I like it when they do things differently and when they're just up and in your face. But at the same time, I'm thinking literally, like, how did that happen? When they're sitting in their boardroom and they're coming up with ideas for, like, a teaser trailer for the game, were they sitting there and like, you know what? I want gratuitous violence. I want terrorist-style execution minus the Middle East terrorists. And it's like, okay, well, this is what we're going to give you. And then they just, like, you know, poop this thing out. And I guess I'm amazed more so it's just the thought or lack of thought. I'm surprised that, you know, a mom or a dad or a sister or wife from a fallen soldier from the Middle East hasn't already been up in arms about this thing. And I don't know, maybe they just haven't paid attention because it's a gaming thing and they consider that, I don't know.
Well, my thing is there's already gameplay video out there, supposedly. Maybe they went back and redid it. I'm not really sure, but Gordon Freeman couldn't even save that. I mean, you know, crowbar or not.
Name dropping.
Gotta throw that in there. But it is what it is. But you're coming with a game that's coming out relatively soon. Show something of the game that we're going to be playing, as opposed to some dude getting an injection in the arm. Yeah, that's cool. You know.
No, I'm talking more about the throat slitting and all that.
But you know, this is.
Well, obviously
Fear did that. Come on.
Obviously, the game's in good hands. Platinum Games, company that did Bayonetta for 360 and PS3, company that did Mad World for Wii. Great games. Bayonetta, of course, out of the two being my favorite. I think the game was completely original, over the top, and I mean, I just love everything about it, from the fight mechanics to.
She got a suit of hair. How can you not like that?
The pole dancing, special attacks.
That too. Yeah.
To just the over the top storyline. I think that Bayonetta was great. So I'm assuming that they're going to go ahead and take that same type of style and apply it to the Metal Gear franchise. And I think, let's be honest, there's a lot of people who love the Metal Gear gameplay, how it's been up until this point. Metal Gear 4, all that, and they were great games, heavily cinematic. They told a really great story, really great characters. You got involved with the characters. So I think that this is a good shot in the arm, maybe a different direction, and the fact that Konami's actually pushing it as hard as they are, I think is a big plus. It shows that some companies still aren't afraid to take chances with their main IPs, their heavy hitters, that they have in their pockets. So I don't know, maybe it's just me. Anybody shares, a different opinion, let us know. WinLossGaming.com forums. Cheap plug for the night.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
No. There was plenty of shame in there, but I just put it on the back burner. So.
It happened.
So yeah, that's my opinion on that. So. Dragon's Dogma demo.
Oh, fantastic!
Come on, let's hear it. For a demo.
I played it. I'm not the one to get into that type of gameplay. I'm not really big into the medieval style.
And nobody's perfect.
The look of it all, but I did kind of dig it. I like the fighting mechanics more than anything from the little bit that I played, and how cinematic it was, like going down in the cave and you see that big dragon just land down and it's like screaming at you or it's talking. I don't know what it was doing, but
honestly, I'll go ahead and jump out there and say it. Sleeper hit of the year, definitely.
You think so? Because I was actually thinking of that about Fall of Cybertron.
I don't know, man. In terms of RPG, was probably sleeper hit.
Yeah, well, it's got some competition with Mass Effect 3 and Witcher 2.
You also have that, but it comes out in its own little time slot. But at the same time, you also have the Game of Thrones RPG, which is going to be carried by the name itself and the show and the books, and everybody's going to be involved in it, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh, this is great," but it's not really probably going to be that great because it looks kind of bland.
Right.
Anyway,
it looks like they leaned heavy towards a Skyrim
it's how they ripped
direction.
off Skyrim. Yeah, I agree with you.
I wouldn't say ripped off. I mean,
but
if it's something that Atlas is investing in, then I have confidence in it there. Because Atlas, Atlas is a more obscure publisher. Of course, the Persona series, all the Shin Megami Tensei series.
Don't even
of
get
course,
started there.
Persona 4 Arena coming out later this year, which I mentioned in last week's podcast.
Which I'll make a prediction on that. I would not be surprised if Persona 4 is able to be downloaded on PSN before that game comes out. They would be stupid not to do it.
Well, Persona 3 was just released last week, and I've been playing that, or last week or the week before.
Yeah,
I don't
last
remember.
Week.
Okay, but I've been playing that too. I love the series. But anyway, Dragon's Dogma, my take. I went ahead and, I gave my take on the website about the game. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
What was the website called again?
Oh, WinLossGaming.com.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll write it down for you. I'll mention it again.
I went there one night. That's a pretty good website.
Yeah, WinLossGaming.com.
Great website.
Yeah.
Great
Gaming
website.
blog of the Carolinas.
Plenty of information.
You just go there, you create a little, profile and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. You can post on the forums. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
So what'd you play as?
Well, you have a set character.
Okay.
And basically, I like the way that they broke down the demo. What they did was you have two basic, I don't know if you want to call them levels or missions, whatever, but you have the prologue, which basically gives you a look as to how you're going to use hand-to-hand weapons, well, not hand-to-hand, but, close quarters weapons. You've got your swords and stuff like that. Then you have the countryside mission, which, of course, is, I guess, supposed to be a takeoff of a bounty, because you're going to get bounties through the game. And that's where you use your ranged weapons and your dual-handed daggers. And that's where, actually, I enjoyed it. And, of course, we're going to throw in the character creation. They actually have full character creation in the demo, which most demos don't do. They give you a preset character, and they let you run through. I give kudos to Capcom, and that's my word, by the way, of every podcast. I'm going to fit in kudos.
Great word.
Thank you.
Well, now we all had to think of words to fit into the podcast.
Well, everybody think of a word and just use it, and then make sure you tag it by the end of this podcast. So,
right.
But yeah, the character creation is actually full editing character creation, so you're good with that. But of course, the prologue, it gives you a minor tutorial about how to use like swords. Your teammates, your squad mates, whatever you want to call them, are with you. And the AI in the game seem to be very valid in the demo. Most games where you have a team of 4, whatever, 5, 6, you have an AI, there's always hiccups, there's always going to be something that you can quarrel about.
One's not moving.
Exactly. One's standing right out in the open, or all 3 of them are Raccoon City. But you know, the AI actually seemed like they knew what they were doing, and I enjoyed that.
Which is great, because a lot of games come out, they have AI that honestly is pretty terrible. You know, they'll stand in the fire, World of Warcraft reference.
Raccoon City.
You know, but you know, it's like, hey, it is what it is, and the demo shows a great AI pattern, and I'm really looking forward to that, because you know, it's great not having to save all your teammates because they did something stupid.
Fantasy games, fantasy RPGs, Skyrim, Witcher 2. I always concentrate more so on that, you know, swordplay kind of gameplay. Whether if I'm in an MMO, I'm the tank. Suga-Tank, you know, you can talk about that with DCUO. I played a tank.
In DCO.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Crazy if I was wondering.
But you know, with
Xeonidas, villain side.
there you
PS3.
go, always. But yeah, you know, like the ranged weapons surprised me in Dragon's Dogma, the demo. The bow. Like once I went to the countryside portion of the demo and I played with the bow, that was it. I was hooked. It was so easy. It was so fluid. Your options as far as your skills, as far as like arrow volley, was just it was really amazing. It was just simple to pick up and use. It wasn't slow. You didn't have to crouch, hide, aim, take them out like you do in Skyrim or you know a game along those lines. It was literally more so action-packed. It was more action-driven. They wanted you to still be involved in that battle to an extent that most, you know, sword users or magic users are, and I think that was something that Capcom really excelled with in the demo.
Good comparison I've heard for Dragon's Dogma is The Witcher 2 meets Dragon Age. If any of those games catch your interest, definitely want to check this one out.
Ironically, both games are very, very heavily menu-driven. Dragon's Dogma is not. I do want to go out there and say that. All of your skills are set. Exactly.
Yeah.
All of your skills are set to your buttons, your right button, your left button, or you know your R1 or R2 if you're playing on PS3. And they're very easy. It's similar to you know radial menu, but it doesn't pause the action. You know, you just press the button and then it switches. Like so, of course, when you're battling, you've got your standard attacks set up on your button configuration, whether it be on PS3 or 360. So of course X's and squares or A's and B's or whatnot. But the moment you press those buttons, those same buttons that you used for your standard attacks switch over to special attacks, and you can use them with ease. So it was very easy to use. Grapple attacks, something I want to cover. Your teammates would grab your enemy and holler at you across, you know, the screen, the landscape.
Actually, I ran into that in the demo. I don't know if they were trying to show it off or it just happened, but it did pan to one of my teammates grabbing one of the characters and saying, "Hey, you know, I got him," or this and that. You just go over there and hack and slash the crap out of him.
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword in my eyes. I loved it. I thought it was a very original and very awesome game mechanic, but at the same time, whenever your teammates pull off some sort of, you know, special kill or when they grapple, the battle system slows down and it pans over to them. Not necessarily in a cutscene, it's still in-game,
right,
but it pans over. And of course, whatever you're doing at that time, as far as the character you're using, your main character, he actually stops. It's null and void. So I'm wondering how they're going to implement that into the actual game, because in the demo, I didn't see it being an issue or a problem, but that's also, you know, a demo that you could have finished in something along the lines of 20 minutes, to whereas a full game, which normally fantasy RPG lasts 30, 40, 50 hours, if that's something that's going to wear thin really quickly. So we'll see where they go with that. So anybody else got anything?
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Demo's out now. Go play it for yourself and see how you guys like it.
All right. I guess we'll move on, and I'm going to go ahead and be biased about this. I'm a huge Transformers fan. I love Generation 1. I love the really crappy Japanese anime they did with Transformers Armada. I love the really crappy Transformers Prime that just came out with, simply because it has a Transformers name on it. You know, it's just a part of my childhood. The Transformers Fall of Cybertron has had a lot of gameplay come out online as far as developer blogs and stuff like that. Screenshots were released for the Dinobots. Now, let's be honest. If there was anything about Transformers that was completely badass, it was, of course, certain Decepticons. Soundwave, Starscream, Megatron. These guys are just ruthless and awesome, and they had their own secret agendas, other than Soundwave, of course, who was just, you know, Megatron's pawn. He did what he had to. The Dinobots were the meat and bones of the Autobots. And it's my opinion, I don't think that there was a Autobot that was any cooler than Grimlock, other than maybe, if you want to push the envelope, Optimus Prime, but that's just because, you know, he's the main guy he's supposed to be. Screenshots were released for Transformers Fall of Cybertron this past week for the Dinobots. We went ahead and posted them on the site. I thought they looked amazing, and the way that the gameplay footages looked for Grimlock, the way that they transformed the transforming mechanics, cheap pun right there. You know, mostly in the Transformers game, if you played War for Cybertron, and of course you watched the videos for Fall of Cybertron, you can transform at will. You can also transform depending on the situation you're in. Of course, you had your dogfights in Transformers War for Cybertron. Grimlock is a little different. You can't do it at will. You have to work up your meter, of course. I don't know if you want to call it a rage meter or whatnot, but you work it up, and of course he transforms once it's full, and then you just go ahead and you obliterate Decepticons.
Right.
They give you a backstory to Grimlock, showing basically how he became not necessarily dumb or ignorant, but the fact that the guy is actually a military genius who just had his processor scrambled a bit due to Decepticon. Due to Decepticon experimentation.
Okay,
this is probably the last podcast we have our wine on. And they go into his backstory, and then of course they implement it into the news story. And of course these games have been considered and recognized as canon to the Transformers universe. I think the screenshots are beautiful. I think the game is going to be the sleeper hit of the year. I think it's going to have that Arkham Asylum feel to it. Last year, Arkham Asylum, everybody knew it was going to be good. Yeah. Nobody knew it was going to be that damn good. And then, of course, it was runner-up for Game of the Year on pretty much any nomination that was brought upon it. I think Fall of Cybertron is going to follow in those lines.
I'm going to disagree on the sleeper hit. Maybe, I'm not going to say it's not going to be a bad game, but honestly, we have to be realistic on it. Is Transformers has become kind of a niche market. I mean,
it really has.
Yeah,
and I will agree
a $4 billion a movie niche market.
Well, yeah,
right.
But,
with the movies, well, we're not
that's
getting
Michael
into
Bay.
movies.
Come on, there was a scene where a giant Transformer had a huge set of nuts. Come on now.
We would actually call those testicles.
Excuse me.
That was my favorite
Testicles.
part.
This is an all-ages podcast.
Testicles.
Transformacies.
Transformacies. There we go. That's a
Okay,
good one.
I like that one.
Throwing in some
Transformicals.
Transformicals. That's a good one too. But yeah, I mean it's Transformers. It's gonna be a good game. You know, War for Cybertron was a good game, but just because you have a good game doesn't mean it's gonna be a sleeper hit of the year.
I'm more or less worried about how they're gonna do the mechanics. I played the first one, didn't really like the mechanics on that one.
Now elaborate. Which mechanics did you not like?
The fighting mechanics, the shooting and all that stuff is just, I did not feel like a Transformer aside from transforming.
Okay, you know what? That boss battle against Trypticon when you were playing as the Autobots and that was your final fight in the game
Right.
was one of the most intense battles. Even the one against Omega Supreme when you were playing as the Decepticons.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the boss battles in the game, literally, I think that they were very, very well done on an epic scale.
Right.
You literally had this sense of, holy crap, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, but it's not like you're saying, holy crap, I'm a Transformer. Like, you didn't really get that feeling. You see what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know. I have to disagree. I think that you had that. I think that the new Transformers series, War of Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, are the closest you're going to get to feeling like a Transformer. The fact that they implemented your transforming in a way that you had to do it at certain points and in a way that you just did it by choice. The fact that you could transform into whatever vehicle form you were at the time, run down opponents, and then literally, like, okay, playing Starscream, for example, you can literally just shoot down at your opponent Autobots, transform in mid-flight, skid to a stop, and then just commence to whipping ass with, your melee attacks. I think that it was fluid, I think that it was great, and I think that it was implemented very, very well.
Yeah.
I think that the only thing that this game is going to do, Fall of Cybertron, is it's going to further that sense of, holy crap, I can't believe they're pulling this off with the Transformers IP.
Right.
And again, I might be biased because I'm a huge Transformers fan, but I think that the game is going to be very well done, and I think that we really have nothing to worry about. And of course, once it comes out, we'll talk about it more then. I guarantee you that'll be my play of the week. But it's what it is. Like it was mentioned earlier, and I think that the game is going to do very, very well. And I think that Activision, for once, is going to give us something that we actually enjoy playing and don't play because we feel like we have to. Call of Duty. let the hate mail commence.
Yes, indeed.
Wasn't there like Insecticons or something in the TV show?
There were, and there are going to be Insecticons in this game. And I don't know if they're doing
awesome.
it as, specific as far as the characters, if they're going to be the actual characters from the game, or from the original TV show, the G1 TV show, or if it's going to be an army of just drone Insecticons, kind of like they did with the Decepticons and the Autobots. But I guess we'll just wait and see, so.
Definitely.
Alright, so, let's see.
Do you guys want to do the Call of Duty?
No, I think we're going to save the Call of Duty for last.
I have
because
a
just because
dissenting opinion.
Well, not only that, I do too, but not only that, but because we have so little information about it. So I was actually going to go over to Skullgirls. As fighting game fans, we started again, like we mentioned last week, in fighting games. Skullgirls, in the first 10 days of release, as a download-only title, 2D fighting game, sold over 50,000 copies.
Fantastic.
Congratulations to RevRidge Labs and Autumn Games for that. I think that that is an absolutely amazing milestone. I think that the game is absolutely brilliant and beautiful. I think that they deserve any recognition and monetary recognition that they get for it. And the fact that the game hasn't even been released in European markets yet is even more impressive, because that's just going to add on to those numbers, and they're actually going to have a nice little milestone to tout once that it's released. So
I'm more or less interested to see what type of DLCs they're going to come out with now that they have set numbers that they needed to get. Aside from characters, I don't know what else they could come out with. Or characters and stages.
They might be able to add on to that story mode again. That's one of the things that I talked about last week in episode 1 of our podcast that I thought was just one of the minor downfalls of the game. Not downfalls, but just the minor quirks I had with the game. The fact that it had such a short story mode. I think that with them adding more characters, that gives an opportunity to give more backstory on new characters, obviously. Thank you, Mr. Obvious, Hyper Vega. But I also think that it might actually give them a chance to extend that story mode. So when you pick characters that are in the game now, as far as Cerebellum or, you know, Mrs. Fortune or Valentine, you might actually be able to add on to their story experiences by adding more fights and maybe just a few more snippets of dialogue here and there.
True.
I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, of course.
Right.
I don't work for RevRidge Labs. I don't work for Autumn Games.
I would like to see, just with the character DLC. I would like to see the great diversity of characters they already have now. I want to see them implement that more into the game. I think there's like a shark in one of the stages.
Actually, in a couple stages, in the background, there's a few stages where you have this shark type character that's in there. I don't know his name, if he even has a name at this point or not. But yeah, I think that would be really, really cool if they put him in there.
I would really think that would be awesome, just to see how that plays out. And I have seen there are some characters that kind of stand out from, you know, the crowd in the backgrounds and all that stuff. Seeing them implemented into the game, and then...
Is your phone going off?
Yes, it is.
You seriously didn't put it on vibrate?
That's unprofessional.
You're such an underachiever.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much covers the Skullgirls talk.
No, I do want to just add one more thing to it. Obviously, because the game sold so well, RevRidge Labs and Autumn Games are actually working on DLC at this point. They said that in their Twitter. They said beforehand, before the game was even released, that if the game sold well, that they would have enough funds to work on DLC. The DLC, at this point, is rumored to be free. Now, that could change in time, because obviously if they're putting extra man hours into it and manpower into it, they're going to have to compensate for that monetarily.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to go ahead and be biased. Most blogs, websites, and podcasts may not do this. They may. Even if you're not a fan of the fighting genre, pick up Skullgirls. You're going to see how a balanced fighting game is put together. You're going to see how abstract art, original concept art is going to be implemented into a game very well. And even if you have to pay for DLC, I think it's completely worth it to support the independent community, not just because it's the independent community, but because it's a very, very, very good game that actually deserves the attention that it's getting at this point.
I think it caters more to the fans that actually like thinking on the spot. If you like the challenge of trying to figure out your opponent, then definitely Skullgirls is a game for you. Very quick, you have to adapt to your opponent, and you have to really think things through. It's not just kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna flail and throw punches around. But enough of that.
You do. You have to have an intricate knowledge of the game, how the game works. But that's where, again, we had mentioned last week the tutorial about Skullgirls. The tutorial is so epically done. It is so in depth. They literally give you all the tools you need in that tutorial to play through it, learn what you need to implement it into the game, whether it be versus, whether it be story, whether it be online against online opponents, and you can take that knowledge you learned from the Skullgirls tutorial and implement it into almost any other 2D fighting game you play. Whether it be Street Fighter, whether it be Mortal Kombat, whether it be Guilty Gear, BlazBlue, you can take that, because those mechanics, those core mechanics for 2D fighting games, as different as most fighting games may be as far as movesets, as far as how heavy they are relying on combos or loops, or lack thereof, loops, which I prefer. There's my shot at Street Fighter X Tekken, which we'll get to next.
Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Yeah, that too. By God, that too. You can take that knowledge, and that literally can introduce you into why you have all these fighting fans like us, that are around the country, as far as all these, areas that put on these fighting game tournaments, and you can see why they have such a diehard fan base, because these games are more intricate to pick up and learn and to become good at and excel at than other games, and most other games, and that most people give them credit for. So
Definitely.
since we brought up Street Fighter X Tekken, really quickly, Capcom has announced, and we also covered this on the website. What's that website, VD?
Oh, it's called WinLossGaming.com.
Is that it? Suga-Tank, is he right?
Yeah, that's the website where you go and then you make a profile and all that. You register yourself and then
Yeah. So WinLossGaming.com?
Good stuff on there. Look at Suga-Tank's profile. It's the best profile out of everybody.
I love your picture. I love your picture.
Disagree. But
What website was it again?
Take it to the forum.
WinLossGaming.com.
Oh, okay.
All right, I like that. That works.
not .net, but .com.
Capcom finally has a patch that's going to be available shortly for Street Fighter X Tekken that is going to completely and utterly obliterate all of those infinite loops that have plagued that game since release. It has hampered it in tournament play. I mean, you can still play the game in tournament play, but it is such a hassle when you're playing online, or when you're playing someone who actually knows, utilizes, and takes advantage of those infinite loops. The only thing they're waiting on to get that patch out, apparently, now this is rumor, it may be confirmed, it may not. I haven't heard anything official from Sony, of course, and of course when it comes to a patch, you're probably not going to. It's Sony. But apparently the only thing that Capcom's waiting on is approval from Sony to be able to release the patch as a
Sony
DLC.
and Xbox, right?
No. From what I gathered, it was just Sony. Xbox wasn't even
Sony.
mentioned. Yeah. So, So thank you, Capcom. You rape our wallets. We appreciate that. Not really, but at least you're working on the things that most fight game fans harbor a huge grudge against, and infinite loops are one of them. Now, if you can just stop destroying our bank accounts with all of this overly priced DLC, Capcom, I will love you just as much as I did when I was 13 years old, blowing wads of quarters on Street Fighter 2.
Here's something for you guys at Capcom to do. Take out the gem system.
They did. When you can go and turn them off. I mean, they're never going to be able to take it out.
You can. I'm just saying.
You can turn it off.
Say, for example, that there was a Street Fighter Cross Tekken Tag Tournament 2 or some type of game like that. Take out the gem system. Like, you can take them off your characters. When you go online, other people will use it to their advantage.
I think the gem system is good and bad. I think it's good for casual players who just want to play the game because they enjoy playing it, and when you're going through story mode, it gives them that help that they need. I mean, let's be honest. Playing Akuma as Tekken characters when you're going through story mode can be a huge hassle if you've never played Tekken before. You're not used to the way that Tekken characters are, lack of projectile attacks, and that's not all of them. Obviously, some of them have projectile attacks. Jin has a projectile attack, or is it Kazuma? I don't remember. I don't play the Tekken characters. It is Jin, okay. Or I don't play the Tekken characters,
but that's
rather,
the thing
the Street
too,
Fighter characters. But it gives you that advantage. The auto blocks, the gem that lets you set your special moves for ease of use. And by God, you take that gem and you put it on Relento, you forward medium punch and you go right into the Patriot Circle, and that's it. I mean, you have an auto combo right there that's just going to obliterate your opponent.
But
they don't know any
that
better.
kills the online, and that's me ranting on that.
But that's why you just, in a local tournament scene, like here in North Carolina, we have a really good local tournament scene.
Right.
You've got Rock'em Sock'em, Reese. Those guys have an amazing lock on the tournament scene. Brian Peck, there's my cheap plug for Brian. He does an amazing job running his tournaments. Biggest fight game tournament in North Carolina, and probably the Southern East Coast, from what I know.
Right.
I mean, when you have a tournament scene that's that large, stuff like that can hamper it, but those guys know how to work around it. So, when you're in a local scene, whether it's just us sitting here in our office working on it, or whether it's just them in a tournament scene working on it, we know better. But of course, when you go online, and that's why with fighting games, you can never really judge it by how the online works.
Right.
You want a good, stable online support, network code, but at the same time, you're going to have people that are going to abuse any type of glitches or just faults the game has online. And that's why, in my opinion, online is nowhere near as good as playing in person.
Oh,
so that's why we just need to go back to the old ways, the way that Japan still carries on, and just go down to your local arcade if you have one, pop some money into the machine, and go to town. Go to your local tournament, support your local gaming scene. Again, I'll give Reese a plug. You know, support your local scene. Go to the weekly Ranbats. Go to the monthly tournaments. Go to Final Round. Play EVO. Whatever it is that you're close to, whatever it is that interests you, go down there. Even if you get schooled, even if you get bodied, you will learn something.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you'll find new friends, new people to practice against. There's the tournament scene is such a great environment because a lot of people are there. Yeah, a lot of people are there to win money and just to prove their worth. But most of the people there, when you go to a tournament, my first tournament was at Sandy's. It was our first tournament, and the people I've met there. WinLossGaming. Okay.
Golden Punch tournament. WinLossGaming.
WinLossGaming.com.
It's on our YouTube page.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's on the YouTube page. Which we'll talk about in a minute. We reached a milestone today.
Oh yeah.
We did.
Yeah, you go in there. I went in there as a nervous wreck. Didn't know what I was getting into and stuff. And when I came out of there, I came out with 3 or 4 great buddies now that I practice against with to give me tips, and we're all just trying to get the scene better.
And of course, it got you in with us.
Bigger, yeah.
At the last 2 tournaments, VD was just a
now.
player. Now he's a part of WinLossGaming, and we love that. So
and that's one thing I love about fighting games is the fact that you go into the tournament scene or whatever, you start playing, but no one there is really like, oh, I'm not gonna tell you anything. They try and teach you kind of like their ways, and then from then on you start learning and you become a better competition for them. And I think a lot of fighters love that competition. Like, you see somebody that's not that good, you play against them, and then the next time you play somebody or that you played against recently, they become that much better. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons why the fighting scene deserves more credit than what it's getting.
Alright, so really quick, I just want to go ahead and just throw this out there again before we move on. Really big shout out to the North Carolina fight scene, Brian, Tactics Peck, all your guys that show up, Rock'em Sock'em, monthly tournaments, weekly Ranbats in Charlotte, Greensboro. You guys have really put an impression on the scene, and we thank you for that. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Crysis 3. Crysis 3 is to be released here shortly this year. Xbox 360, PS3, PC. Trailer was released, showing gameplay footage. What do you guys think?
Looks beautiful.
It looks beautiful. It really does.
Beautiful.
Crysis has a long history of looking absolutely amazing, and they're keeping it up going with this one. I mean, gameplay-wise, we'll see.
The Crysis series has always kind of set the standard for graphics. I remember when Crysis 1 came out, I was actually working part-time at Stop Game. There you go, for copyright reasons. I was working. Yeah. You were working there long before I was. I had a lot of people come up to me and tell me that their PCs just could not handle Crysis 1. A lot of people, of course, when Crysis 2 was ported over to consoles after being on PC, you had a lot of those PC diehards kind of pointing and laughing. But you had us console players saying, hey, you know what? For a console game, this thing is beautiful.
Yeah.
The Crysis series has always kind of set the standard for FPS graphics, in my opinion, and I think that Crysis 3 just looks absolutely beautiful. I think they're going to deliver on the gameplay side as well. They always have. And I'm really, really excited about this title. I think that when it comes out, it'll be, again, I'm going to drop the play of the week. It's going to be my play of the week. And I'm going to go ahead and persevere through it, trudge through it, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to thoroughly enjoy it.
Right. Let's go on to the Arkham City Game of the Year.
Arkham City Game of the Year edition. It has become common for companies and developers, publishers to put out Game of the Year editions. Now, of course, 9 out of 10 times those specific titles are games that were nominated for Game of the Year. Arkham City last year, I think if it wasn't for Skyrim, and I think I mentioned this in last week's podcast, in the last episode, that if it wasn't for Skyrim, I think Arkham City would have been, and everyone else's, choice for Game of the Year. Well,
my Game of the Year.
I can agree with that. I mean, if it wasn't for Skyrim, then yes, Arkham City would have been Game of the Year, but when you go up against something like Elder Scrolls, it's basically built from the ground up to stomp everything else around it.
We can, you know what? We can talk about Skyrim all night. I think that even after playing not Morrowind, but
Skyrim.
No,
Oblivion.
not Skyrim. Oblivion. Yeah. As many hours as I put into Oblivion, I can't believe I just had a brain fart on that.
Morrowind, in my opinion, was the best Elder Scrolls game ever.
I'm going to say Skyrim, but that's only because, you know, Morrowind at that time when it came out, I think that there was a graphical difference. I think there was a gameplay difference. A lot of die-hard Elder Scrolls fans and players are going to disagree. They're going to say Morrowind, of course, agree with you, say the best one. I like Skyrim, and that's also because I'm obsessed with Nord mythology. So, again, I'm being biased. The fact that this was based off of Nord mythology and the appearance and everything was just historically akin to Norse mythology, just kind of touted for me. But, you know, I don't think that Bethesda had any idea going into making Skyrim that it was going to be as good as it was. I think they had a scope as to how big it was going to be, how massive the game was going to be. I didn't think that they had anticipated almost 10 million copies sold worldwide, though. But Arkham City, Game of the Year Edition, Rocksteady Games are giving you everything. $60. You're going to get all the DLC that has been released since the game released originally. So that's all the skins for Batman, that's Nightwing, that's Robin, that's Catwoman. And you're also going to get the Harley Quinn DLC that's going to be included. And in addition to that, you're going to get a code that lets you download online the animated movie Batman Year One. I'm sorry, but I'm looking at other companies and their Game of the Year editions and, of course, how they incorporated their DLC. But I just think that this year, this will be the Game of the Year edition to watch. You know, Mortal Kombat has one coming out with all their DLC characters, and that's all well and great. Mortal Kombat was a great game last year, my fighting game of the year last year. Let's go ahead and, again, Hypervig is going to be receiving a lot of hate mail. But, you know, I think that...
I want some hate mail.
I'll send you some hate mail.
Well,
Mortal Kombat set the bar for what a fighting game should have. There was so much content in that game. The story mode, as outlandish as it was, rebooted the whole system from the ground up, the whole series from the ground up. It gave you 3 hours, if that, maybe more, of just content alone in the story mode. And then, of course, you had your 1 vs. 1, your 2 vs. 2, you had your challenge towers. So I think that Mortal Kombat set the bar. But even so, I think that their Game of the Year edition that they're coming out, or their complete collection, as they're calling it, that's coming out this year, isn't going to hold a candle to what Arkham City's Game of the Year edition is going to have. I think that they're just implementing a lot of stuff with it. And the fact that you've got a game that's so good, that was so well put together and so well received, that was just amazing on any level, as far as graphics, as far as gameplay, as far as story, as far as options. You felt like Batman. You were in a free, you know, roaming world where you can go and do what you wanted when you wanted. And the Zaz mission, where you had to go from phone booth to phone booth, was really, really, it's just done really well. And he's one of my favorite villains in the Batman universe, in addition to the Joker and Bane. So I think that having him in there at such a high role was really good.
You haven't picked it up yet. This will be the game. This will be the edition you want to pick up.
Yes.
All the things included, and it's just, I'd be really surprised if nobody hasn't played this game yet.
Yeah. Don't buy used. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Buy new. That's always going to be my thing. I know sometimes I buy used too. I understand that, so I'm being kind of a hypocrite, but I always support the online codes. I always purchase DLC just to compensate for that. But still, I buy new if you can. I buy maybe 1% of the games I buy each year is used. The rest is new. Buy new.
There's a difference between buying new and buying day one too. You know, if you're iffy about it, just wait. Ask your friends if it's good or anything. But you always want to be a big supporter of the developers and the publishers that make this game. Otherwise, we're not going to have any more new games, or them trying to reach out and do new things. So even if you're not planning on getting on day one, I always advise to always buy new, because like I said, it's been less than a year, and the Game of the Year edition's already come out, and there's no point to buy used when you get, for $5-6 more, you get all this DLC and a brand new DLC that nobody's even played yet for the same retail price.
You know, the way I see it is, a lot of people, a lot of gamers, you guys have a voice. We all have a voice now, with the internet, with forums, with Twitter, with Facebook. We have a voice to express our displeasure, but we also have a voice to support our community. And a lot of people complain, like I did earlier, about Capcom raping our wallets. I did that in jest, but to be perfectly honest with you, when you have GameStop and you have a lot of other companies that are selling games used, these developers and these publishers aren't making money off of those games. And a lot of people are going to say, well, they make enough money, that's why they're big conglomerate publishers. But you have to understand, the money they're losing on these used titles are the reason why we have all these overpriced and just released DLC that is released later on. Capcom, of course, with their big fiasco about having characters and their DLC already implemented on their discs, but we had to pay to unlock them. This is a way that they have to cover that gap in revenue. All right, when you buy a used game, again, like I just stated, these companies don't see a dime of that, and so they're losing money, and they have to come up with a way to make that money back so that they can continue to put out games. Now, yes, you can say some games are really horrible, some games are really good. You can say some games are huge disappointments, Prototype 2, but you can also say that some games excel.
Hey.
You can say that some games excel at what they do. But the bottom line is, like, again, we discussed in last week's podcast, when it comes to big business, it's all about numbers. So when these companies are making the numbers, they have to come up with ways to make those numbers, to close that gap, and DLC is it. Online codes is it. You buy new, I guarantee you, you won't have overly priced DLC anymore. You won't have high-priced DLC that's going to be released on such frequent occasions. And you never know. I might be shooting in the dark and just being, biased and a fanboy again of just the gaming scene as a whole. Prices may go down in games, but if these companies are actually making the money that they were originally intended to make by releasing these games, and we're supporting these companies, then, you're going to get what you pay for. And as much as I don't agree with Activision's business model, the fact that they give so much to the Call of Duty fans, even if you do have to pay for it, the fact that when you have Call of Duty Elite and you're getting these weekly updates and you're getting these maps, that's them taking the money that they're making from selling these games new, because let's be honest, how often do you find a used copy of the newest Call of Duty game?
Pretty often.
It's, well, I don't know. I mean, I have to kind of beg to differ there. Maybe with Modern Warfare 3 you find it pretty often, but up until that point, it's kind of hard. It's kind of scarce. I think that that's a good example, so I will commend them on that. And it's probably the only time you're ever going to hear me compliment Activision on anything other than Transformers Fall of Cybertron, so.
Right. You want to jump into,
But we still have one more subject before the new Call of Duty, and that's New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS. Okay, it's Mario, guys. Everybody here was raised on Mario.
Mario,
Everyone here was raised on Mario.
I mean, Mario's become basically the most recognizable figure, even above like Mickey Mouse and everything else. Everybody knows Mario. Mario is everywhere.
You know what? That's a pretty high claim to make,
But
but sadly, it's true.
it really is. I remember playing Mario when I was little.
Yeah, Mario was just fantastic. It was one of the first games that I ever played besides Legend of Zelda. And this formula stayed the same over the years. You go in, do what you gotta do, jump on stuff, break some blocks and everything, but it still works. After all these years, that one little basic thing that carries over just about every Mario game that's ever come out still works, still sells.
I think that one of the best things about the Mario games is, like you said, it's just the fact that it has that stable tradition in gameplay. It has that stable tradition in name alone. And I think that it's one of those franchises that Nintendo obviously holds really close to their hearts. And I think that a new Super Mario Bros. 2 for 3DS is going to be really good. I don't ever doubt, Nintendo when it comes to Mario games. That can also lead into another subject with Nintendo registering the domain name for Super Mario Bros. 4.
Oh wow! Ooh, I didn't know about that.
Ah,
That one,
see,
yeah, throw
see.
that one out there. I see how that works.
Yeah, you see how I throw that curveball at you guys?
Yeah, I didn't
That
know
wasn't even publicized on our site. I didn't even put that
WLG,
story.
where you get the newest news.
I'm
Yeah, I know.
saying.
The
I don't know how new it is, but yeah. It was going around that
Laying that on the
Nintendo.
line.
Yeah, Nintendo went ahead and registered the domain name for Super Mario Bros. 4. And let's be honest, if it's going to be on 3DS, I'm going to be disappointed. Because when you're actually making a sequenced number sequel in your main franchise, it should be on your dedicated console. Now, whether that's going to be Wii or whether it's going to be Wii U, whenever they decide to release that, I think it's going to be a huge seller. I think it's going to be done very well. Mario Galaxy was done great. The last time we had a numbered entry in the Mario series was Super Mario Bros. 3, which was, 80 years ago?
Yeah.
The Wizard, remember the Wizard?
Yeah.
All right, come on.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that, if they're actually going to do it, then let's go ahead and do it. Let's do it right. Let's go ahead and put it out on the main console. So,
Agreed.
Definitely.
I got to go. One break.
all right, so we've got Super Mario Bros. 2 out of the way, New Super Mario Bros. 2 rather. So finally, I don't want to say the biggest news story that's come out of the last week, but I will say what's probably one of the most popular, and of course one that we have the least amount of information for, is new Call of Duty. Apparently the teaser image that was released, of course we posted that on the website. Vicious, what was that website?
WinLossGaming.com.
WinLossGaming.com. We went ahead and posted that teaser image on WinLossGaming.com. We went ahead and posted the link that directed you to the YouTube video with, you know, the CG looking stuff. Is it too early? Is Activision getting out of hand?
It's not really too early because it's been done every year. You guys know.
But that's my point. That's my question. Do you think that Activision is going the same route with Call of Duty that they did with Guitar Hero?
Oh yeah.
We got to a point where we were seeing 4 Guitar Heroes released in a year.
Definitely.
Do you think, even after I just complimented them on their business model with the amount of content you get with your Call of Duty games, do you think it gives the Modern Warfare players, because apparently, and I guess I'm jumping the gun, apparently the rumor is that the game that's going to be released is going to be the Black Ops 2 game. It's going to be Black Ops 2. Do you think that that gives enough time for Modern Warfare fans to enjoy Modern Warfare before they have to jump ship and go? Or do you think because the games are being done on 2 different developers, Treyarch on one side, Infinity Ward on the other, that you have a separate fan base that's going to go and you're going to have your core fan base for Modern Warfare stay?
I think you have what you said, the Infinity Ward and Treyarch little war that they have going on. I personally am more of an Infinity Ward guy. I did not enjoy Black Ops whatsoever. I just thought it was... They had really good ideas, but it just didn't get... It just didn't come out right. I did not like it. I didn't enjoy it. I'm kind of disappointed seeing that picture that I saw. What was that, a gun? Was that a flying gun that I guess supposedly goes next to you? That doesn't really... To me,
now you know you're gonna have a lot of elitists saying, "Oh, we didn't know what it was."
I hope I get hate mail for this, really, because of the fact that I think no one says it just for the fact that I don't know if anybody's too scared to say it but I did not like it. It was.
I just think that Activision is flooding the market. I think they have a cash cow. I think they're exploiting it, and you know what? Again, double-edged sword. From a business model, you pursue it. You try to make that bottom dollar. You try to increase those numbers. You try to overly produce what is the core of your sales. From a gamer's perspective, I don't want to see another Call of Duty released for another year or 2. And I don't mean every year, maybe every 2 years, every 3 years, go for it. And that brings us back to our Halo discussion from last week. Exactly. The allure of Halo isn't just the universe or how great the community is or how much the developers actually support the universe and the title, but I think it's the fact that you go that extended amount of time between entries in the universe, entries in the series, so it gives you time to enjoy the title that was released. Halo Reach, of course, released numerous years, 2 years ago?
Yep. Yeah.
Now you finally have Call of Duty. You finally have Halo 4 being released this year. It gave you time to enjoy Reach, enjoy what Reach offered, to give the community time to enter into the Forge and forge your levels, come up with your creations. It gave you time to enjoy everything about the game. I think Activision will probably never hear this podcast. That's cool. I don't mind. I'll go on record as to say I think that you guys are starting to see your own downfall by actually flooding the market. Not bashing Call of Duty or the fans, bashing the business model. Lay off.
It's basically the Tony Hawk Pro Skater of our time, if I want to throw that out there. Going back old school. They used to release 1 to 2 titles basically every year. What it used to be before was Infinity Ward. They created the Call of Duty series, and then Treyarch kind of took over the redheaded stepchild of the production process. Typically what they released,
World at War, Black Ops,
was never as good as the main series. Well, now that things have kind of been shaken up, both of them are coming out.
Oh, you mean that mass exodus from Infinity Ward early last year? Yeah,
huge. I wouldn't even I wouldn't say a layoff, but more of a
no. It was an abandoning of Infinity Ward.
People were jumping ship, and comes out. Now we have the new Infinity Ward, and then Treyarch, stuff like that. At one time, I enjoyed Call of Duty, and go ahead. Of course, we're talking about hate mail, dude. I'll be honest. I used to play Call of Duty all the time, played competitively, and loved it. That was Modern Warfare. After that, every 8-9 months you're getting a new release. I mean, dude, there's not even enough time for DLC to come out, really.
Yeah, the whole Modern Warfare 3 season pass, all the DLC and everything, it hasn't even been out yet. They haven't finished their season yet, and you're already hearing about Black Ops 2. My thing is that you never feel like you're getting your money's worth out of it. You never feel like that once you get good with a game, well, 5 months later, now you hear there's another game. Like if you were to pop in Modern Warfare 2 right now, you'd have to wait 10-15 minutes to get a game to actually get a game started because everybody's on Modern Warfare 3, and that's my problem is that like unless you're hardcore playing this game, 10 hours a day, it feels like you're never gonna get your $60 out of it.
I think they need to take the approach that Counter-Strike did. Counter-Strike came out, I don't know how long ago, but now you're hearing about a new Counter-Strike. Was it Global Offense?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And that year gap, it makes you that much more excited than the whole Call of Duty thing. Like you said, it's a cash cow, and they're trying to milk it because the fact being that the perks that they come out with in these new Black Ops and this new Modern Warfare 3 could have been in the previous ones if they really sat down and thought about it first. But it's kind of like to me, it almost seems like they intentionally leave all that stuff out so they can make that much more money the next go around in the next new game. And they take out good incentives, part of the game. They take out good parts of the game to replace it with other parts of the game, and it doesn't feel like a complete title should. The best one was Modern Warfare. I had the most fun on that, and I feel it was the most balanced.
You also have to understand they also have a split fan base too with it. Is you have people that are die-hard Modern Warfare all the way, won't touch Black Ops to the devil. Then you have
Mark of the Beast. 666.
You got people that are Black Ops all the way. So you basically have 4 different people in the Call of Duty market.
Sure.
You have your Black Ops or whatever Treyarch is making, Black Ops 2, Black Beach Edition. I'm not really sure, but
Such a racist.
yeah.
Well,
And then you have
And that was not a racist term. I mean,
Right.
we have a multicultural group here.
I'm offended.
Suga-Tank's always offended.
I
It
get
doesn't matter
offended by
what it is.
everything.
You should name you should rename yourself Salty Tank.
I'll consider that.
Not so Suga-Tank.
And just to give you a heads up, he did give me a Care Bear stare. So, just keep that in mind. But then you have like your Modern Warfare players. It keeps bouncing and forth. Then the fourth one is the people that don't touch Call of Duty at all. Halo people. And then,
Hyper Vega.
Suga-Tank.
dudes we need.
And it's the Madden of first-person shooters. Just about every year on the same day, they have a new one. Is it different from the old ones? Not really.
I'm glad you brought that up because apparently now, okay, this is also just touting on the rumor mill. This is not finalized in stone, but the rumor is that the new Call of Duty is actually going to be released in November, which is the same month that what's going to be released, VD?
Halo 4. So it's actually a week after.
A week after.
Week after.
I'm curious. I'm not worried, but I'm curious. So I think we've went ahead and pulled on Activision's chain just enough tonight. Again, not bashing Call of Duty, although it really did come off that way. We're just expressing our disdain for some of the things that they do. Obviously, you cannot discredit what Call of Duty has done to the gaming community. You cannot discredit the amount of publicity and the success that it's had in the gaming community. And I, of course, there's my word coming again, kudos to Activision and the Call of Duty franchise for doing that. It's obviously got to be one of the titles that have given us a mainstream appearance when it comes to video games. So, okay, but still, I think that there's some things that even now the biggest franchise in the world can work on. So, lastly on our news of the week, and I guess finally, would be PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Now, okay, this isn't the biggest story, but, this is probably the most interesting in my opinion. Rumors, of course, all over the internet, all over gaming sites. We didn't touch it on WinLossGaming.com until we had something solidified in stone. I don't like touting rumors on there, even though we talk about them in podcasts. I'm not going to sit here and waste everybody's time on rumors. I'm going to, make sure that we give you the best that what we can as far as what's solidified in stone at this point. Obviously, it was solidified yesterday, or this morning, rather. No, last night it was finally published on a website that I'm going to leave nameless because we only plug our website and not other websites. This morning, we published a story. We published a video, the trailer, with the developers from PlayStation Blog, developer comments about it. And this is a game that obviously has been rumored to be in production for a while now. Of course, that rumor has been solidified because we got the footage, we got the screenshots. Smash Brothers ripoff? Yes.
Definitely.
Is that a bad thing?
No.
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 I mean, let's be honest. Anybody who's a gamer at some point in time has played a Smash Brothers game, whether it be Melee, whether it be Brawl. You know, it doesn't matter. You played Smash Brothers and you liked it. You know, you take your favorite characters from your favorite Nintendo games, whether it be Link, whether it be Pikachu, whether it be Mario and Bowser, Luigi, whether it be anybody, any of them.
Sonic.
Donkey Kong, Sonic. Obviously not a Nintendo character, but yeah, you're right.
Sonic is in the new one, yeah.
You're right. But you know,
Sellout.
yeah,
Yeah, what a
Sega got to make ends meet somehow. But you know, it was always fun. It was always fun to see that mesh. Now, of course, you have PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Confirmed characters: Kratos, Parappa the Rapper, Fat Princess, Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal.
There's a Helgen in there, isn't it? From Killzone?
Yeah, it's I don't remember his name. Obviously, we showed last week's episode. I'm not a Killzone fan. I'm a Halo fan. But yeah, there's the general or commander or whatever from Killzone,
somebody.
and more hate mail for Hyper Vega because I don't know my Killzone lore. But yeah, you know, my thing. The reason why I put this in our top stories obviously isn't because it's one of. Obviously, Sony is counting on it to be one of their bigger releases of the year. They're counting on it to be a cash cow, since we're dropping that term. But because I want to know what other characters they're going to put in this game.
I can already tell you one character that I can already see being in this game, and I think you guys would agree.
Nathan Drake.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, did I jump the gun?
No. Spyro.
You know what? Even better.
Crash Bandicoot.
Even better. Crash Bandicoot.
Besides Crash Bandicoot, what other big name adventure game do we have out for the PlayStation?
Little Big Planet.
Not that one. Although it's okay. It's okay, Vega. You can go back to keyboard.
Sackboy. Does nobody else love
He's
just
already
the creative
They
control
have a
you
stage.
have?
Yeah.
Well, you saw one of
Well,
the
it was a
stages.
stage, though. They haven't confirmed him as a
Sackboy
character.
Would probably be in. If not now, the DLC. But the dude from Infamous. Come on now.
That would
Yeah,
be very-
Cole.
that would be
Cole.
very-
Definitely.
very-
Well,
how about-
I don't know.
How about this one?
That's oversaturation, in my opinion, considering he was just in the Sony PlayStation 3 version of Street Fighter X Tekken. But it's also it does
is,
make
yeah.
sense.
How about... I'm trying to think here.
What if they reach into the gene pool for old school Final Fantasy games that were only released on the PlayStation? Can you
know,
imagine
I
Sephiroth
hope
being
they
in
do.
there?
I hope they do.
How elated would you be if Sephiroth made an appearance in this game?
I would love it. Really.
That'd be fantastic.
I think that I would
I'm
be in a fetal
interested-
position of joy and pleasure. I can't really make any more innuendo other than pleasure.
I can tell you another character that's going to be on there. Warhawk.
Ah, well.
Characters from Warhawk.
How would you pull that off?
I don't know, man. It's Sony.
I mean, I would be
characters.
stoked if
What if
Sephiroth-
Sly
If-
Cooper?
If you can put Fat Princess as a character, into
Sly
the game,
Cooper?
then
That's
they've
like
gotta
Cooper.
figure it
There you
out.
go.
Sly's in it.
Yeah,
He's in it. No, he's confirmed. Sly Cooper has been confirmed, so I think that's pretty neat.
Definitely.
There you go, 1950s throwback, neat. Like my sock drawer, neat. Thanks
What
to
about,
my wife,
Ratchet and
Pammy
Clank?
Pam.
They're not-
That would be a good Jack and Dexter.
Yeah, Jack and Daxter.
yeah.
Oh, I'd love.
Actually,
Oh,
they're
can you
great.
imagine if they threw
all the
Daxter
weapons
in
that
there?
they drop?
Yeah, don't even
Yeah.
put Jack in there.
man.
Just put Daxter in there. You know, it's just like your overly
so
orange
overrated.
ferret.
This wasn't
Oh,
a...
Siphon Filter!
Oh,
Yeah.
wait,
yeah,
yeah.
that would be awesome.
That was
Yeah.
was Siphon Filter.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I thought
Yeah.
they made an Xbox 360 version of Siphon
No,
Filter.
Did they?
Did they
it's
not?
confusing.
Okay, I stand
Yeah.
corrected.
One character I would love to
Yeah.
see in this game is never going to happen just because he's so vulgar. Will be Conquer from
Well, he was on
Fast
Xbox.
Forward Days. It
And
doesn't
Nintendo.
matter.
They're
He was
not going to put
everywhere
it in.
else, but
Right.
but like going back to Sackboy, if they didn't have him in there, that'd be like making like a Sega racing game without Sonic.
Hybrid levels. The fact that the levels
Yes.
switch
Yeah.
on you. So you can start off in a level themed on God of War, and then it can switch. You know, and of course, I don't think that the level that they showed in the video footage switched, but the Hydra in the background?
Yeah, the Hydra, and then you had the that guy from God of War, the
Kratos.
dude with the,
No, I'm sorry, you're
the dude
right.
with the fire mask,
Oh,
one of the
Hades.
bosses.
Yeah, Hades.
Hades. And then you had the Patapon guys in the background, which is pretty awesome. And I thought that was
Yeah.
a great way to mash up things like that.
Yeah, and of course, the stages interacting with the characters,
Yep. Yeah,
spears
exactly.
coming from, background NPCs and walls.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just, I think that, I think if done right, it's going to be a very fun game to play. A lot of fight fans, actually, were starting to question whether or not it was going to be able to withstand and hold up on the tournament scene. You know, Smash Brothers did really well on the tournament scene. I know a couple of fight scenes that are bringing it back. Again, there's my shot at Reese. But, you know, I don't know if that's really what Sony is targeting at this point. I think they're just targeting a fun,
more
casual crowd with the game.
Pick it up and play.
You know, again, Smash Brothers ripoff. Yes, is that a bad thing? No. Let's just see where they go with it. So, yeah, I guess those are our big news stories of the week. I mean, I'm sure there are other rumors that are going around, but again, we don't like to tout rumors. We just like to tout what's actually solidified in stone at this point. So we'll just go ahead and leave the rumors up to your imagination.
Spit the facts.
Yeah, pretty much. So we're going to move on to this week's new releases. There's been a plenty of them, but we're going to go ahead and just touch on what we thought were the most important or just the most notable. We've got 3 we want to talk about. First one being Darkstalkers on PSN.
Classic.
Now, again, WLG was started on fighting games. You know, Darkstalkers 3 is now being released on PSN, or was just released on PSN. I've downloaded it. In my opinion, I think Darkstalkers 3 was the most complete and even entry in the series. I think that the gameplay was the most... I don't know. What would you say about it? I think that going back and playing Darkstalkers 1 and Darkstalkers 2, the gameplay was great, but that's not what made the game. I think that what made the game at that point was just the shock value of something different with the mythological monster characters that you had.
I love the character design.
But I think... Agreed, but I think Darkstalkers 3 is where the series actually came into its own as far as it being an actual fighting game, even combos. I just think that it was the game that carried the series. I think you can literally take Darkstalkers 3 and put it back on the competitive tournament scene. So, you know, fighting game fans, a room full of them, probably minus Suga-Tank because he's more caught up in DCUO and Prototype 2, which we'll get to in a minute.
Terrible at fighting games, so I don't play them.
Hey, that's fine.
Like losing.
That's fine. I don't like losing either. That's why I just win. Except for when, you know, of course, Justice Trains.
Hate mail, Suga-Tank, WinLossGaming.com.
Darkstalkers 3, in my opinion, was the most evenly balanced and probably the most well put together entry in the series. And of course, rumors of Darkstalkers 4. Darkstalkers 4 being Sony or Capcom rather. I'm sorry, putting a patent out on registering Darkstalkers 4. Maybe Darkstalkers 3 was their way of testing the waters to see if there's still a market for it. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, that's a very plausible idea. I hope they do bring out... there's many titles that I wish they would bring out. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't do good.
Legend of Dragoon.
Super Street Fighter did good. And I think that, like we said in the last podcast, it kind of put fighters back on the market.
Yeah, fighting games definitely are back on the market now after quite a long hiatus. I mean... You gotta give credit to Street Fighter for that one, for really blowing that scene up again.
Well, it wasn't their fault. It was just a normal progression of, you know, okay, well, here's this system, and they just kept adding on and adding on and adding on to the point where it just split off into little niche markets and everything. And then at one point, you know, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike was a great game, but you had to learn parry systems and your V-isms and your A-isms, and it just got to the point where it would be overwhelming to somebody who just wanted to start on it.
Instead of playing a game, you were studying calculus.
The downfall of, in my opinion, Third Strike, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, was the Dreamcast. And hold on, because in my opinion, the Dreamcast, my favorite system ever released. I think the Dreamcast was completely ahead of its time. Everything that we play now originated on the Dreamcast. And you can dispute me on that if you want, but I bring facts to the table.
Mario World.
Well, motion controlled gaming. That you have the Wii, that the system is based on, Samba de Amigo on the Dreamcast invented. Voice work and Kinect, you know, with Xbox's Kinect and all that, Seaman on the Dreamcast. Open world games that had, you know, real time going on in a day-night cycles. Shenmue, at the time when it came out, the most expensive and highly publicized game of all time.
What about
online play? Typing of the Dead. You implemented your keyboard. The faster you type, the more accurate you were, the better you were. Yep. Phantasy Star Online originated online play. Regardless of what you have to say, the Dreamcast was ahead of its time. It originated all of the major features that gaming, in my opinion, my humble opinion, and again, this is something I will dispute anybody on. Hate mail, WinLossGaming.com, HyperVega, the Dreamcast. But the fact that, in my opinion, American gamers were intimidated by what the Dreamcast was giving us. I think that at the time we were spoiled on platformers, we were spoiled on, you know, traditional role-playing games. Final Fantasy VII, Legend of Dragoon, Chrono Cross was out at the time. Jade Empire was on Xbox. That was a little later. No, I'm thinking of Jade Cocoon. Jade Cocoon. Jade Cocoon. I'm sorry, that's what I was thinking of, not Jade Empire. I think that American gamers were intimidated by the Dreamcast, and I think that's why the Dreamcast didn't do well in America. But I think that if we can go back, and you can shake your head over there all you want, Moonlight Devil 24, who has not contributed at all except for shaking of the head.
Yeah.
I think that American gamers were in fact intimidated. Power Stone, Rival Schools, fantastic games. Guts, Berserker's Rage. America didn't know what Berserk was. We didn't know about that anime at the time. In Japan, it was really huge. We didn't learn about it till, what, roughly a decade later? Great anime, very mature rated, very adult orientated. So if you're under the age of 18 at this point, or maybe 16, I guess depending on how Nazi your parents are, do not watch the Berserk series. But the game was amazing. It implemented physics that at that time were not seen in games. You know, you had your sword, which was like 800 feet long. You go into an alley that's only 5 feet long and try to swing. It hits a wall, sparks fly, and you're screwed. I mean, you know, the Dreamcast just had a lot going on. It had a lot of great titles. And I think that's just, again, the stuff that we're doing nowadays in games, it originated on the Dreamcast. So, but again, because the Dreamcast faltered and failed, not many gamers were introduced to Third Strike, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. And I think that was when the fighting game phenom started to take its downfall. That, in addition to the fact that you had, for every one great title you had what I like to dub, and most Wii haters like to dub, shovelware. For every Street Fighter, you had a Clay Fighter. And I'm sorry, for every Mortal Kombat, you had, what was the one on Genesis? Eternal Champions?
Oh, hey, Eternal Champions was a good game.
Eternal Champions was horrid.
If you go back and play,
Oh my!
like,
Eternal
as a kid,
Champions was good for a nostalgic fact.
Yeah. As a kid,
But you know what?
But it
enjoyed
did so many things.
Go
that
back.
they
No.
did not.
Go back and play Eternal Champions. Then go back and play Mortal Kombat 2, and then let me know how your opinion.
Mortal Kombat
You know,
2 was a fantastic game, but Eternal Champions did things that other games had
Time
not
Killers.
done.
Time Killers.
Time Killers was crap.
Pit Fighter.
Hold on. Pit Fighter? Are you serious?
Oh,
You literally brought up Pit Fighter.
You threw that
Time,
back so
Time Killers.
That's not even in this conversation, dude.
Time Killers had a great idea. For each button you pressed, it attacked a specific limb. You had one-shot kills. If you actually hit with a headshot, you cut their heads off, decapitated them. Arms, legs, and of course that determined where your skill went later on in the game. You know, you cut an arm off, obviously some moves are prohibited. You cut a head off, you're dead. But you know what? Other than the fact that it had an actual really good original idea implemented into the game, it was horrid. So again,
scheme was it was ahead of its time. If you want to argue about it, just look it up.
it was just a Tekken control scheme. You know, each button represents a different limb of the
Tekken
body.
wasn't around then.
No, thank God it came around.
Tekken wasn't until like 4 or 5 years later.
But you know what? I guess since we've been, you know, obviously now jumping back and forth from subject, I think that what basically killed 2D fighters in the 90s was shovelware, was crapware. You had a bunch of companies trying to capitalize on the fighting game craze. And you had, Biofreaks, but you had a lot of companies that were still producing great titles. You had SNK still, providing us with the King of Fighters series. You still had Street Fighter with Third Strike. I'm not going to go with Mortal Kombat because once it went 3D, it just went downhill in my opinion. But you know what? As much crap as I can talk about their 3D games, I can always just say that they redeemed themselves in my eyes with the latest Mortal Kombat. So, you know, again, off topic, so let's digress. We seem to digress a lot in our podcasts. Darkstalkers 3, now on PSN. Probably the best entry in the series. I recommend at least checking it out. $5.99. What's going to happen? You lose $6. If you're a smoker, that's a pack of cigarettes, so you got to quit anyway. So do I. I got to quit. So there you go. Walking Dead Episode 1. I don't have much input on the game. I'm actually downloading it as we speak on my PS3. Tank, you've actually played through it.
It's completely amazing. I loved it.
Okay, now are you being biased or?
Well, I love the show. When I first turned it on, I was not expecting what it was. It's kind of, it reminded me of Heavy Rain in a way. Did anybody play Heavy Rain?
Yeah.
Like with the
where you just get up and you're doing.
Right, you walk and you click, and the game kind of plays out. You just click the stuff that pops on the screen, you know. But there were moments in that game that I felt I was totally horrified. Like, it's just the suspense in the game. It's great.
I'm gonna wrap you in a sheet.
Yeah, let's not bring that up.
BioShock reference.
Oh.
That's why I stopped playing BioShock for 2 months. After the first 5 minutes.
When that splicer tells you in the first 5 minutes of the game that they're gonna wrap you in a sheet, and you have absolutely no weapons at your disposal up until that point, you realize that you're in for some screwing, some straight prison showering.
But your decisions in The Walking Dead, they really affect the story, and it's just crazy. Like, when you get to know the characters and then you watch them get torn to shreds by like 20 zombies, it sucks. And that usually it's because of you that they get torn to shreds, so it just sucks.
Well, I don't know. If I don't like the character, that might be a good thing.
Well, one thing I did like about it is whenever you made your decisions, like say the part of the demo that I played, you picked up the walkie-talkie that you found in a little cupboard that this girl's talking to you, and it gives you options to say to the girl, right? At the bottom, it gives you a certain amount of time, and the time, like it crunches down.
Well, Witcher 2 does that with certain things. Like anything that's based up towards the main story, they don't want you to sit there and think on it. They want you to go with your first gut instinct.
Right.
Like, what would you do if you were in a situation?
Definitely.
You don't have much time to think on things like that. You only have a specific amount of time to react, to make a decision, because you're always in crunch time in those situations. And that's, I think, the type of feel that the game is trying to
Definitely. And I like that
give
aspect. The graphics, not so much. I didn't like the way it looked.
Even for a downloadable in the game?
I didn't like it at first, but it's very, like, the way it's drawn, I like it. You know, the colors and everything.
Well, this is the first time we've had, like, two people disagreeing on things. I'd like to hear, like, you know, we've heard Suga-Tank praise it. I'd like to hear what Vicious thinks about it, because...
Yeah, I mean, why do you not like it?
I didn't like it just because of the fact that whenever I played it, there's this part where you fall down, and there's a zombie crawling up your leg, and you can literally keep on doing that for about 20 minutes, about as long as I did it. Just for fun, or if you're kind of confused at first, or whatever. At that point, you realize that you have to get the hammer that the girl is holding, and then beat the zombie with it. Just that type of thing is what I don't like.
Well, but again, do you not think that that's just the sense of realism the game is trying? I mean, if you're in that situation
Definitely.
for real, and let's be honest, we're all going to have to face the inevitable zombie apocalypse at some point.
That's how I want to die.
We all need to prepare for the zombie apocalypse. It will happen.
But if we're talking
if
about
you've got
realism, wouldn't kicking a zombie's face after the first 20 times, wouldn't that slow it down a little bit?
I don't know. Have you ever tried to kick a zombie's face?
I have, actually. And
Okay.
it did slow it down.
All right. Well, then obviously the game has no sense of realism, and we need to throw it out the window now.
Yeah, that's a fail state also.
Apparently, Vicious has experience with zombies.
I have.
So, you know, kicking your ex-girlfriend in the face does not count.
Oh, wow.
Hey, he said my ex-girlfriend, not my current girlfriend.
Yeah, well, your current girlfriend likes biscuits.
Yeah.
Your current girlfriend isn't a zombie right
That,
now.
that too. Although she could potentially become
We
one
all
in the future.
could be zombies, and I will not say, I would actually kick all of you in the face.
Okay, well, when I die, I want a camera put into my tombstone, or in my grave, and I want the television that it's hooked to in my tombstone, so that when, you know, the zombie apocalypse does occur, you can actually look at that screen and see if I'm being, you know, brought back as a zombie, and if so, you know exactly how to handle it.
What
let's just hope that I live
what
infinitely
if
like a vampire.
I'm a zombie and I'm looking at the camera?
Well, you're Guatemalan, so I have a, you know.
I eat iguanas, so...
Yeah,
I mean,
so
I'm
I'm gunning for you first anyway, simply because of the color of your skin. So, all right, so, okay, Walking Dead, out of the way. We obviously have concurred on that, you know, Vicious has experience with zombies, and I have experience with zombies, not really. But we're going to move on to Prototype 2. Okay, I'm going on record right now. Hyper Vega is saying, I did not like Prototype 1. I thought the game was unbalanced. I thought the story was absolute crap, and I think that they tried to base a game basically off of the fact that you can transform your arm into something funky and kill stuff with it. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's just awesome. That's amazing. That's great. Prototype 2 was supposed to work on the issues that Prototype 1 had as far as game and balancing, as far as gameplay mechanics just being broken, as far as the crappy story. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. I haven't played the release yet. So again, here's my bias in coming in. Well, yeah, we're going to play it tonight after this podcast is over. But you know what? I have no intention of spending money on it. And from what I have seen as far as gameplay goes, I think that the game doesn't appeal to me. I think that I'm going to base my opinion off of what everyone else is saying and fall into that clique of mainstream and just say that I'm going to pass on it. Suga-Tank, you've played it. You've played through it.
It might be too manly for you.
Oh, well. Hey,
Throw it
Too
down.
real, you know?
Too real.
Too real.
it's too
Yeah.
real. You know, I can turn my arms into big blades and cut people up with them, and it's too
what
real.
about that doesn't
I don't
sound
know.
forty.
That seems
I can
pretty
remember
That's
realistic.
pretty awesome.
I can drop just as
I
many
think Vicious
F-bombs as
actually
he
did
can.
that one day too.
I mean, you know.
Yeah, I saw
If
your
I want to
hard
hear
things.
F-bombs, I'll pop in Witcher 2. which is obviously, in my
There we go
opinion,
again.
a superior game. Or I'll go back to Grand Theft Auto 4 and just pop in.
I'll pop in
and-
mindless self-indulgence and just listen to it.
Asking Alexandria if we're going to go ahead and move on to music. Yeah, they drop plenty of F-bombs, yeah.
No,
But yeah, Prototype 2, we've got somebody here, Suga-Tank.
am I the only one that played Prototype 1 and 2 in this room?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I played the first one and I didn't like it.
I
It
played
was
the first
a
one, and I thought that
overhyped
they
piece
dropped the
of
ball.
junk. Yeah,
I played the first one, and then I played Infamous, and I decided to go with Infamous.
Exactly.
This was a
Well, I'm
much
sorry
better
to say,
game.
but you're all wrong.
why.
Prototype beat Infamous
Tell
in
us
every
why.
aspect.
Convince us otherwise.
I guess
the
we
story-
should start putting disclaimers on our podcast that we are not impartial at all.
Hate mail, Suga-Tank.
We will bring you the news on these titles. I will, encourage everyone to bring you as much news as possible on these titles. That doesn't mean that I have to like them.
Right. But Prototype 1 was one of my favorite games. You know, I mean, your arms...
Okay, hold on. Where does it compare to Red Dead?
Those are two different animals.
No.
the only comparison you can make
Hold on.
Infamous.
No.
Don't make
does
me
it,
choose between
Okay,
those two.
where does it compare to Infamous?
Better, in my opinion.
Ah.
I mean, Infamous was a little guy that shot little lightning bolts at people. And
Okay, so-
shocked them. In Prototype, your arms turn into blades, whips, you jump buildings, you consume people, and then transform into people. Like, one time, I consumed a guy's girlfriend and then beat the guy up as his girlfriend. Which I came up with that story in my head, but...
the game lets you play it out.
Yeah, exactly. When I saw a female and a male walking together, I was like, okay, that's a couple. And I'm about to massacre them like crazy.
Okay.
Wait,
Did you pre-order the game?
not the first one, the second
No,
one.
the second one, yes. Prototype 2,
Okay.
did you pre-order it?
I pre-ordered this collector's edition, which was $80. Now, I'm going to say that I enjoyed the game.
And you have no shame in that.
Absolutely, I have shame in that.
Did you have shame in the fact that all you got for your pre-order was a butt kick?
No, let me... Yes, that's horrible. I actually told the guy to keep that code. That gave me the game. He's like, you want the butt kick code? I was like, no. Throw it in the trash. The butt
Basically,
kick
you put
was
in a code that unlocks a move that lets you do this move that you move by moving into kicking someone in the butt over a couple buildings, and then they blow up.
Right. It was terrible. But,
With your infamous, jiggly, creepy, venom-esque, symbiosis type of move, yeah.
and that's awesome. I mean, who could not like Venom?
Well, I love
Powers.
Venom. I just don't like
Doesn't have
Prototype.
anything to do with it.
I don't like
Venom's not in
Venom,
the game.
but I like Carnage.
Okay, well,
Carnage was awesome.
is actually just like Prototype, pretty much.
No.
No.
Anyway,
you
except Prototype's better. But anyway.
Carnage
No!
Prototype's
Anyway.
Are you still locked in
Hoodie.
one town? You're still locked in one little city?
No,
That's
there's,
gorgeous.
actually
there's
have
three zones.
Three
One's
zones.
the green zone, which normal people live in.
So they got that
The
from
yellow
Sonic.
zone is like infected a little bit.
So they got that from Kindergarten.
The red zone is totally all hell.
So they got that from the red light district.
Zombies. Yeah, exactly.
They've been listening to David Bowie music.
But I can stop right now, man. I can stop right now. Let's just talk about Witcher 2 for the next hour. I'll leave, and y'all can talk about Witcher. Andy can talk about Witcher
You
2
bought
for
the
an hour.
game. Rick
You
played
bought the game. I'm
Would
sorry.
you recommend it? Would you recommend
Let
something
me
going
say
on play?
this. I bought the game, the collector's edition, which was $80, came with an art book that was the size of a calculator. A little baby calculator.
It's an art book. What do you expect?
Skyrim's art book was like the size of a dictionary.
Yeah, because Skyrim needed it.
I thought it was a Bible.
There's only
Yeah,
so many
exactly.
ways
It
you
was
can draw a
Bible
dude
for
wearing
me
a
for a
hoodie.
little while. But, okay. And it just didn't come with anything. It came with like a CD that had 10 tracks on it that was background music, which, I didn't have any to listen to yet.
Well,
But
Witcher 2 came with a full game soundtrack too.
Yeah.
And so did King of Fighters 13.
Right.
It came with King of Fighters 13 came with a 4-disc soundtrack with music from every game in the entry of the series, and it was $10 cheaper, and
Right.
it was an awesome fighting game.
Well, yeah.
There you go.
Alrighty, well. So, anyway.
Your prototype tool is no
Anyway,
void, sir.
Prototype 2.
I am pelvic thrusting the microphone with my
Prototype
victory.
2. I enjoyed the game. I beat it. The thing that I have a problem with is what the developer said before the game came out. They talked so much. They talked it up so much. And when you play the game, you see what they were saying, but they exaggerated so much, in my opinion. Like, they were asked, are there new powers in the game? And the guy says, oh yeah, there's a ton of new powers in the game. Let me talk about the tendril power. When in reality, the tendril power is the only new power that I saw in the game. And they took out a power to put the tendril power in there. But that's not the worst part of Prototype 2.
But going on the subject of them talking it up, they did the same thing with the first one.
Yeah, they did.
You actually think about the marketing blitz for the first game was overwhelming. You would have thought that it was the second coming.
Well, it was.
You know, it was just like, oh, Prototype, it's gonna be fantastic. You can take over this dude. You can drive a tank. And you can do all the stuff you can do on.
I can drive a tank in Grand Theft Auto.
Mind controlling someone.
Yeah, but could you grab the barrel of the tank and rip off the top and then smash it to death?
But I can put in a hot coffee code.
Ooh,
I could do that in the Hulk game.
Old school.
Wait, yeah, it was based off the whole game.
PS2. What was it called again? Hulk.
Ultimate Destruction.
Ultimate Destruction. Yeah. Great.
But let me tell you what the worst thing about Prototype 2. Prototype 1, the final power you got was an armor power. The final power you got was an armor power that was unbelievable. It looked so awesome. What was the show with the guy with the armor back in like the 80s or something? Crazy, fighting alien people, blades on it.
Oh, you're talking about oh yeah, it originated from Japanese anime, The Guyver.
Yep, Guyver.
Exactly.
Yeah, oh, Guyver.
Even as cheesy as those 80s movies were, they were great.
Good.
And Mark Hamill was in it.
Yeah,
Luke Skywalker.
well,
He was that
very
dirty, grimy
reminiscent
detective
of the
with
guy,
5 o'clock shadow at 2 in the morning.
Very reminiscent. That was the most awesome power of the first game. Well, the second game, this is what the company did. They took out that power. Didn't tell nobody till you beat the game and figure out you still don't have the armor power. But it will be coming out in a few months as a DLC.
Okay, so I guess just to end the,
How
you know,
horrible is
we
that?
say, you know, we always say
something
that
out of the first game and then make it
we always
pay for
say
it?
we're not bashing a game after we allegedly bash it, but I guess we just
Hate
completely
mail, Suga-Tank,
bashed Prototype 2. So, do you recommend buying the game?
used so the game company doesn't get any of the money. Hate mail, Suga-Tank.
So, in other words, I should just continue with Witcher 2, and you know, try to ride
So it's more of a,
beep
if you like the
beeps
first
across
one,
legs and.
get the second one. But if you didn't like
Prototype
it,
2
stay
is
away.
identical from the first one, other than a graphics job. And that is my.
So in other words, they didn't.
So,
in your opinion,
play
they didn't
the
work
first
on
one,
any
see if
of
you like it
those.
first, then
The
if you
first
like
one is better,
play
I
the
think.
second one.
Well, there you go, Prototype
There you
2.
go, guys.
Right.
All right, so we went ahead on our Facebook page, you know, Facebook /WinLossGaming, and you know, we posted a question, whatever you guys basically want us to cover in the webcast, in the podcast. If there's something specific you guys want us to talk about, and we got a flood of questions. We got a mass amount of emails. Not really. We got one question. We got one question, and the question was, are we going to still do fighting game tournaments? And yes, we are. We're still going to do fighting game tournaments. We had Golden Punch, great success. We had Carpe Noctem in Concord, North Carolina, great success. Thanks to everyone for coming out again. Almost 2 months later, a month later rather. My time again off, just like in the last podcast. Congratulations to our winners from that epic with 3 Eyes and TCO. You know, we're still going to do fighting game tournaments, but we are also going to just incorporate other things. We're actually going to go in the hybrid direction. We figure there's a huge community for fighting games, and we love that community. We love, you know, the competitiveness in the fighting game community, but we also want to be able to expand and broaden our horizons, and we want to cater to every type of competitive gaming community. We want to make sure that, as you know, broad as we are with our news coverage for video games, as broad as we are on our opinions of video games, we want to be just as broad on what we're offering in our tournaments. So we are still doing fighting game tournaments, but we are from now on doing hybrid tournaments. And we actually want to give credit to Dude It's VD on this as our resident Halo genius. You know, we're going to go ahead and just incorporate more than just fighting games. Carpe Noctem Remix is coming out. We're going to be putting that on here in the next month. We don't have an exact time frame for you. Well, we have a time, but we're just waiting on approval. We're going to go ahead and we're going to incorporate Street Fighter 4 AE, you know, version 2012. You know, or you could just say Street Fighter 4, whatever. We're going to have Tekken 6 because we believe that Tekken is still one of the better fighting games that's out. You know, Tekken Tag Tournament 2 coming out later on this year for consoles, Ultimate, or Unlimited rather, I'm sorry. So we're going to have Tekken 6 playable there. We're also going to incorporate Halo Reach into the tournament. We want a Halo Reach scene. We want to see the community for Halo come out. We want you guys to come out, show us your skill. We want you to come out and show us just how great you think you are or how great you really are. So we're gonna go ahead and just have hybrid tournaments from this point moving forward. We're still gonna do fighting tournaments.
We're never gonna stray away from fighting games, though.
We're never gonna stray. No.
WinLossGaming, that we're always gonna hold at least fighters at our tournaments.
We're always gonna have fighting games present at our tournaments. Always. There's always going to be that allure of fighting games, that technical chess match that we like to attribute to fighting game competitive matches. And
I think sometimes we may even dedicate just a tournament just to fighting games, and also just a tournament to shooters as well.
yeah, and I mean, in the future, if there's anything you guys want to see us incorporate, whether it be sports, we're thinking Madden, we're thinking Forza as far as racing, if there's anything you guys want to see us incorporate, let us know. We know that there's a huge Call of Duty fan base. In the future, we might have a Call of Duty tournament, although there's just a lot of variables going into a Call of Duty tournament as far as, your loadouts for weapons and such, and, just classes and all that. I think that as far as first-person shooters go, at this point, we're just going to do Halo at the moment because it's just more of an even playing field. Honestly, we were even touting the idea of possibly doing a hybrid tournament with Halo and Call of Duty at one point. Maybe doing a Halo versus Call of Duty. Yeah, that sounds outlandish. People are thinking, well, you can't mix the two. You know what? If anybody can mix the two games, if anybody can have a tournament featuring both games and find a way to mix it up, we can, and we will, at some point. Whether it's an invite only, and we just go ahead and, film it and we put it online, our YouTube page, WinLossGaming. We'll figure it out. But yes, in a nutshell, we will always have fighters at our tournaments. We will always be doing fighting game tournaments. We're just going to add more to them to reach a broader crowd, a broader community. Because, at the end of the day, regardless of your preference in first-person shooters, regardless of your preference in 2D or 3D fighters, whether you like to be able to sidestep or whether you like to just go ahead and, go with it, we're going to go ahead and try to cater to as many people as we can. So, obviously, Carpe Noctem remix. Look for news on that soon. Website. We're going to go ahead and have that very, very soon for you. We're very excited about that. Extreme Play, Concord, North Carolina, Carolina Mall. And so, guys, I guess to close out the podcast, since it's, almost twice as long as last week's, even though we said this week's would be shorter, what are we playing this week, Vicious?
I'm still on Mass Effect. I'm actually going to... Dude's VD is going to let me borrow Halo 3, and I think we're going to go play that. He's going to teach me the ways of the Halo.
Teach you how to use that VR, man.
He's going to teach me how to use that VR.
You are going to be a grasshopper.
So, it's all good.
Awesome.
Suga-Tank, what are you going to go ahead and... what are you playing this week?
Well, I was playing Prototype 2 until I beat the game and didn't have the final armor form like I was talking about. Which they pretty much took my hopes and faith in the game industry and doo-dooed on it.
You said doo-doo.
They doo-dooed on my hopes and dreams.
Kind of like Michael Bay on our childhood memories of Transformers, and in the future Teenage
Put
Mutant
them in
Ninja
the
Turtles.
toilet, sat down, and doo-dooed on them.
Okay, so if you're done with that...
I'll probably be playing... Probably go back to UFC Undisputed 3.
Alright, VD?
Currently, I'm getting my grind on, getting in the lab on Skullgirls. Tank Girl, one of my friends, is going to let me borrow Witcher 2. I'm excited to play that, and hearing Hyper Vega talk it up, I'm excited to start that.
Very hardcore.
Waiting, I just got Trials Evolution, so I'm going to dip my hands in that, and hopefully it's everything that's been touted as.
Alright, Shadow Train, what are you playing this week?
Mix of a little bit of things, namely Witcher 2, of course. Then throwing it back a little bit, going to the PS2 days and playing Persona 3, which just came out on the PSN. Just rocking that one out. Awesome soundtrack, awesome game. One of the best RPGs ever. If you haven't played it, you need to. And if you really haven't played it, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but you need to get out from under it.
Alright, well, Hyper Vega. Obviously, I think I've gone ahead and touted my own name long enough. I'm still on Witcher 2, of course. Still practicing on Skullgirls, especially now after we're done with this. We're going to go ahead and jump on that. Persona 3. I got a lot of games I'm playing. I'm downloading Walking Dead Episode 1 now, Darkstalkers 3. And Bastion. I held off on Bastion. I heard so many good things about it. As an RPG fan, I'm kind of ashamed that it took me this long to download it, but with everything else that was out, I just kind of kept overlooking it, knowing I would eventually download it.
You're going to get stuck on it, man.
Great soundtrack, great gameplay. I love the narration of the game. Absolutely amazing game. And of course, another game that came out a long time ago that I just decided to download when it went down in price, Hydrophobia, which it's decent. I'm not going to say it's great. I'm not going to sit here and say it's the best thing to happen to DL games. Obviously Bastion, Skullgirls. there are a lot of other games that you would want to go ahead and purchase as far as downloadable games. But I just thought that the mechanics of the game were actually pretty intriguing, and I thought that the premise behind the game was very intriguing as well, and just figured I'd go ahead and give that a shot and see how that works. So, a lot on our plates as far as gaming this week. We've got a lot of time we've got to go ahead and implement. So, definitely. If there's any shout-outs you guys want to give, let's go ahead and do it now.
Quick shout-out to Tank Girl, Christina and Rustin. Those are my homeboys. Those are my game buddies. And I'll see you guys in a little bit. Can't wait to shoot your faces off.
Nice. I'm going to go ahead and give my shout-out as normal to Justice Strange 1 over on the West Coast, up there in Oregon. Still getting his game online, still going ahead and working on his skills. Went ahead and posted on Facebook our little fight video that we have on our YouTube page, and went ahead and tried to trash talk a little bit. But if you go to our YouTube page and see the match, I think it was actually the very first video we uploaded. You'll see my Sagat go ahead and take out his Ryu. So Justice, you want to go ahead and keep you practicing, sir, because once you get back over here on the East Coast, I'm coming for you.
You just got pwned by me last night in Skullgirls.
Oh, Justice!
Oh, get back in that lab, man. Get back in that lab.
Oh, anybody else? Closing comments?
I want to give a shout out to Google It, bro. I've been playing with him on some. We've been doing some tag team on some what's it called? Street Fighter X Tekken. Although I don't like the game and I play without gems, we've been kicking some butt. I also want to give a shout out to Big Daddy Fat Sack for just having a creative name. I just love that name. He's one of my close friends as well. So that pretty much wraps it up for me.
I want to shout out to Warrior Uprising, my DCUO partner, 6 Hyper Vega belt out on us.
Corey, shout out to you and a shout at me.
Get out there, train, so I don't have to keep carrying you through DCO.
No one really in specific, but just throwing out a general one is just everybody that keeps us going, because honestly, without you, we wouldn't be here doing this, having all this sorts of fun, and people actually listening. So, support us in any way, wife, girlfriend,
exactly,
significant other, same-sex partner, it doesn't matter.
Shout out, I'll go ahead and capitalize on that. My wife, Pamela, Pam, Z, my family, my children, everybody who's had to sit here and deal without having to spend time with me, because I'm putting all this work into the site and podcasts and events that we're putting on, IGE, Carpe Noctem Remix and stuff. You guys have been very patient. You've been very helpful. Pam, of course, contributing when it comes to events and stuff. I love you. Thanks a lot. And of course, to you guys that take the time to listen to these 2, 3, 4, 5 24-hour podcasts, and check out our site. What's that site, VD?
WinLossGaming.com.
Check out the site, read up on us, and like us on Facebook. Check out our YouTube vids. Our milestone today, we reached 1,000 views on our YouTube page. Total. Actually, last time I checked, before the podcast, 1,300. So thanks a lot to you guys. We love y'all. We're obviously not impartial. We just want to give you our opinions. If you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. It doesn't matter. You want to send us hate mail or like mail, let us know.
And always, just like always, go to the forums. Like Dude's VD just said. That I just kind of interrupted. But go on there and tell us what you guys want us to talk about, what your thoughts are and stuff like that. Make videos for us. Do whatever you can. Just contribute to the community, and pretty much sums it up, right?
Yeah, I think we're done. Done.
Right,
Gaming blog of the Carolinas, podcast number 2, episode 2, out of the way, and we thank you guys for listening.